chocolate. The very word excites the taste buds. It's one of the world's most ancient and magical ingredients. Its uses are as various as they are legendary. It sustains explorers, woos women, and helps when you have to say sorry. In this programme, I'm looking for the best, the finest chocolate made from the greatest ingredients to make the best truffles, confectionery and hot drinks. We'll discover the secrets of great chocolate, what separates a high street bar from an exclusive truffle, and hopefully I'll get to try a cup of the world's finest hot chocolate.
So here I am at the start of my journey. I'm in High Street Kensington in London and I'm looking for the world's greatest chocolate, which is why I'm about to check into Hotel Chocolat and meet its managing director and co-founder. Now he's a man who has such a passion for chocolate that he actually went as far as buying a cocoa plantation in St. Lucia. People often book a room here thinking it's a hotel.
We have had a few people pitch up, asking for an ensuite room, yes. We wanted to have a name that was very escapist. Most people's idea of a hotel is that it's a place you go to have a bit of fun. We tried to come up with very simple propositions like less sugar, more cocoa. And when you put hotel and chocolat together, it creates this metaphorical place in your mind where the chocolate just allows you to zoom out from every day.
Can individual cocoa beans, like individual grape varieties, really have a difference in taste on the ultimate product? Yeah.
Hugely, yeah. The very best are the Criollo beans, but they're of course the most delicate as well and most difficult to grow.
So looking at what we've got in front of us here, have you got some Criollo genes that I can
certainly
shove into my mouth?
Try one of these little ones here. This is our Rabot Estate 72% dark.
Right. So 72%, which means there is 72%
cocoa.
Cocoa, yeah. You couldn't eat too much of that, really, could you? That is quite strong.
You're right. It's a self-regulatory thing, really, that when the chocolate is that punchy, you only need a small amount of it, and it's a bit like trying to drink a pint of espresso. You just could never do it.
So let's have a look at the 52% milk, because you don't really think of milk chocolate as having a high percentage or even a 50% degree of chocolate cocoa in it, do you?
No, we don't, and the reason we created these recipes was to try and provide a bridge from most people's perception of milk chocolate and the high cocoa recipes that everybody yearns to get to. And by adding a little dash of milkiness into the recipe, it's a bit like having a macchiato rather than espresso. That little dash of milk just rounds the edges off and makes it a lot more mellow as an experience. The cheapest ingredient in chocolate making is sugar.
Right.
Everything else is markedly more expensive, and in all our recipes we seek to use less and less sugar. You need a little bit of it, but there's a temptation amongst manufacturers to put more and more in.
More cocoa, less sugar, that's your mantra.
It's our mantra, yeah.
What noise should I be looking for when I snap a bar of chocolate?
You should be looking for a very clean snap, like that. And that really tells you that the cocoa butter crystals have been properly aligned. If it hasn't got that snap, there could be two reasons. One is that the chocolate hasn't been tempered properly, or it could just, quite frankly, have terrible ingredients. The more fat you load into the recipe, the less the snap.
Would you agree with me that the idea of chocolate orange is, wrong?
Certainly not. No, I think.
But it is though.
It's.
I mean, it's disgusting, isn't it?
No, it's certainly
just
not.
wrong. It's a crime against chocolate. It's a crime against oranges.
Would you like to taste some?
No, thank you.
This is a brave combination of Valencian orange as sort of essential oil, blended with a very good dark chocolate. And I'd like you to just set your prejudices to one side for a second, William. I know how you feel about it, and try that, and tell me if it isn't fantastic.
First of all, the noise. Good crystallization of the butter nuances. And that really is quite disgusting. Where's the future for chocolate now?
It really is exploding. I don't think it's going to go on forever. Chocolate's having its place in the sun now, and it will settle down and other things will pick up the fashionable focus. But I think out of this we're getting a lot of interest in the provenance of chocolate and the story behind it. And I think companies who link right back into growing the cocoa and have a story to tell and demonstrable skill and know-how in teasing the best out of the potential of the cocoa bean, I think the future is very bright.
From his beautiful boutique in London's Chelsea, Gerard Coleman supplies chefs like Gordon Ramsay and Heston Blumenthal with creations such as chocolate flavoured with tobacco, which to me makes him possibly the top chocolatier in Britain. But I'm going to meet him where the magic happens, at his production house in Kent. I'm just fascinated to find out how you make a chocolate. Where does it begin?
Well, instead of having amazing displays, you have amazing smells and amazing ingredients, and that's the key to it. It's the raw materials. So we start by sourcing from different parts of the world the raw material cocoa bean, and that combined with sugar, milk powder creates the raw chocolate that we know.
Now normally a chocolatier, I assume, will import cocoa butter, but you actually crush and conch.
There's a lot of misunderstanding about what is a chocolate maker, and most of the chocolate makers we see in this country are people who bring in ready-made chocolate, and they will melt down, change into a finished product by adding fats and sugars and various things. But we go right back to what is the true chocolate maker, in the sense that we take the cocoa bean itself and just really not changing it very much. It's really going right back to the source as much as possible. We don't grow cocoa beans in this country, so we're limited as to how far back we actually can go, but we want to have as much control as we can ourselves, so for that reason we try to buy in beans, paste, refine, conge and mix ourselves.
What's an Irishman doing in the chocolate business? I mean, what's the connection? How did you start? Were you a chocoholic as a young boy where you lived north of Dublin?
Not at all. I grew up on Mars, Snickers, Kit Kat and all the rest. I'm a pastry chef and a chef by training, so through working in restaurants and in kitchens I found that the misuse of chocolate was something I could correct by learning a bit more about that art and that skill, and the more I learned, the more I wanted to continue.
Now you obviously supply high-end restaurants, and Little Bird tells me that you could probably account for about 15 Michelin stars.
That's 15 Michelin stars of the chefs, but yes, it's nice to be associated with them.
And what are you supplying? I mean, are you supplying chocolate as a raw ingredient that they could turn into a chocolate mousse, for example?
For their own preparation, yes, we will give them chocolate. Sometimes they'll actually want a finished chocolate that they will just present to a customer as an after-dinner compliment. It makes their life easier. Sometimes they just don't have the skills or the space or the time to do these things.
So you've got two shapes of chocolate here. Are they just
both the same created bespokely for a different environment? A very thin disc, sometimes a nice accompaniment at the end of a meal. A larger square chocolate is a nice accompaniment in a box where you have different flavours. You have a chance to try more of it. The traditional disc is what we're familiar with at the end of a nice meal. You don't want so much chocolate, but you want an intense flavour.
How do you get this sort of artwork on it? I mean, I don't imagine that one of your Oompa Loompas
are hand painting
them.
It would take far too long. We create this by printing cocoa butter, which is coloured with chlorophyll. It's printed onto plastic, transferred onto the surface of the chocolate as it's liquid. As it cools, it takes the print, take away the plastic, print left behind.
Okay, and because you've got cream and so on, fresh ingredients, do these have a shelf life? Have you got to keep them in the fridge?
It's a limited shelf life of anywhere up to 10 days, so it's not a problem. You're going to eat it straight away.
So I'm going to try this.
It's a mint ganache. We've got a soft centre mint ganache, which is made up of cream, fresh mint leaves, sugar, a combination of chocolate that we make that works best with that mint flavour.
It does taste incredibly fresh. I mean, I could just eat those throughout the night.
I'm sure you get sick of them at some stage, but you could.
When someone goes into a shop like yours, you might be surprised how much you might have to pay for chocolate.
If you want a cheap commodity, then you'll buy it at stock market prices as cheap as possible. But with cocoa beans, if you want a better tasting product from the plantation, you have to pay more to the farmer to grow it. So that's what we're paying for, and inherently that's making our end product more expensive.
And let me just remind myself of
just how good it was.
Well, Gerard, thank you very much indeed. And before I leave, there's just one thing I need, and that's a box of chocolates.
All mint or an assortment?
A mint, an assortment, just bring it on.
Coming up, we meet Chantal Coady, the woman behind Rococo chocolates, for a lesson in the history of chocolate. And I also go in search of a cup of perfect hot chocolate. So far on my journey to find and taste the world's finest chocolate, I've met high street chocolatier and retailer Angus Thirlwell. But coming up, chocolate doyenne Chantal Coady tells us about the journey chocolate has made throughout history, and I look for the perfect hot chocolate. I'm in London, and I've come to Mottcombe Street. I'm here to meet the doyenne of all things chocolate, founder of Rococo, Chantal Coady.
I've always dreamt of chocolate and lived this sort of fantasy world of chocolate.
But you actually had chocolatey dreams?
I did, I
Really?
really did, yes.
What would happen?
I suppose it was having read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and this is way before they filmed it. So for me, that book is so full of beautiful imagery. And I would be wandering through these little sort of fields with a chocolate river running through it, and all the trees had sweets growing on them, and I'd put them under my pillow and wake up in the morning and find nothing there. So it's a very tragic childhood, really.
Were you brought up with gypsies?
I was definitely a gypsy as a child. I was born in Tehran. I went to Addis Ababa and all sorts of places.
Was there good chocolate at home?
There wasn't good chocolate. The only good chocolate I had at that time was probably the only good chocolate there was in England, which was handmade chocolate from St John's Wood in these beautiful boxes, which were given once a year by a godfather. My father was a doctor. He used to drag us around with him on high days and holidays. So Christmas Day, you go into the hospital and do a ward round with him and be presented with these mammoth boxes of chocolate, and you think, oh, how wonderful. Get home and open them and find everyone had turned white because it was about 20 years old and being kept in the wrong conditions. So perhaps something to do with that kind of feeling of frustration. I was looking for the perfect chocolate, but I certainly hadn't found it. When I was working in Harrods, I had the feeling that although they were selling beautiful chocolate and some of the best that was available, there was no love and no joy and no theatre. The experience was missing somehow. And without being able to test the market because it didn't exist, I felt this real belief that it was going to work. And it was impossible to prove it one way or the other without actually doing it. So there I was, going to the bank with my little plan saying, this is what I want to do. And people just kept saying, well, yeah, why not? The name Rococo comes from the word rocaille in French, which means shell work and scroll work. And it's an 18th century style of ornamentation, which is florid to the point of bad taste. And I thought, that's it. We set up a little chocolate making area within my own house on a tiny scale. And we actually produced quite a bit of chocolate from there.
Right.
And then the next thing was we got a space in Dulwich where we had a much bigger space. And now we're actually making chocolate from this premises in Mottcombe Street, which is very nice because the customers can actually come and watch the chocolate being made. I know a lot of people who drink chocolate instead of alcohol, for example. So
really?
It's fantastic because it just gets you buzzing. And if you do a tasting of chocolate for people, they suddenly, start off quite quietly and they get noisier and noisier in the way that you'd expect in a room full of people to party.
So do you eat chocolate every day?
I have a bit of chocolate most days, but because I'm surrounded by chocolate, I don't need to eat it every day. I have this security blanket.
Now, historically, at what point did chocolate become kind of a confectionery, having been, you know, a kind of rather strange and more exotic raw ingredient?
I think that Fry's could probably take credit for having produced the first real eating chocolate bar. It was in the 19th century that Cadbury's got the recipe from Hans Sloane, so he was the one who brought milk chocolate to the UK.
Right.
In fact, you could say he invented milk chocolate.
If I followed you down the street, is there any circumstances in which you would admit that you might pop into a newsagent and buy a Lion bar or a Kit Kat or a picnic?
I might sneakily buy a Kit Kat if I was going to see my father-in-law for tea and I knew he didn't have any in the house. But
Okay.
that's about as good as it gets. Can I tempt you to try one of my favourite chocolates, which is our house truffle?
I'm willing to try one, yeah? Or two? Or 6 or 7? So what have you got on here?
These square ones are the house truffle. They have these natural fruity notes in them, nothing added to it. But people say they get raspberry, plum, cherry, citrus.
I'm just trying to get some of those fruits. Might have to eat some more. What about this one,
And
this
that
shiny one?
this one is a little ravioli shape, which has got salted caramel in it,
Wow, that's amazing.
which I love.
Well, Chantal, thank you so much, and long may you reign as the Queen of Chocolate.
Thank you, William. It was great talking about chocolate with you.
Now, it's all very well buying great chocolates, but can you make them yourself? My next stop on this cocoa-flavoured journey is to the London kitchen of Amelia Rope. Amelia is that rare creature, a bespoke truffle maker. Truffles for dinner parties, for gifts, or just personal greed. She's been making chocolates for 20 years, and I'm hoping to get a masterclass in conjuring up my own truffles. How long have you been in the chocolate game?
I've been making chocolate since I was a small little girl. I use these pastils, which are ready for cooking. They're very easy to melt. They're all the same shape and size. So I use those in the ganache that you're going to be using to make your truffles and in the coating. Ganache is your powerhouse of flavour, so that's what you really work at perfecting.
So you're going to make a ganache with the melted chocolate, honey and cream, full stop, yeah?
Yeah.
So over here at the hob we've got some cream that's warming up, you've got the chocolate melting in the bain-marie above some simmering water.
Yep. Pick a honey that you want to flavour the truffles with.
Well, I'm not really fussy, you choose my honey.
Chestnut honey then, because
Chestnut
it has
honey.
a really good, if you have a
Smell.
smell, that has a really good flavour to it. Okay, so the honey, you're going to put a good dollop into the chocolate.
Like that one?
Yep, that's great. And then the cream that has just come to the boil, you're going to take that across and whisk with the balloon whisk
Okay.
it to form
So
a
we
nice
just pour that
emulsion.
straight in.
Straight in. And then
I'll give you
whisk.
that.
Thank you.
And I'll whisk this. So is this is broken up bits of...
This is chopped up chocolate, and if you're
This
doing
is
it
chopped
at home,
up pastils.
yeah, pastils.
So you've just broken that up.
Break it up, or you can put it in a Magimix. That's it. Now you
Chocolate.
can stop whisking right now because you don't want to scrape too much air in it. Okay, so you need to get your spoon and fill your piping bag up, which is always a messy business, I think.
Right.
Okay.
And then...
Force it down to the nozzle, so just squeeze it down.
Yeah.
And then you want to just do little, what I call dollops, which are going to be rolled into your truffles. So that's enough for one. It's just one.
Oh, I see, you push it down now.
So you push it down and put it up.
So, I've made a beautiful arrangement on a piece of baking paper. What happens next?
They go in the fridge until they're hard, probably an hour and a half at this size. These have been in the fridge for about an hour and a half and they're ready for you to roll them. So we're just going to take the little dollops off and mould them, not completely
So we
solid,
just roll those into a ball.
roll them into a ball. Rather than just rolling the ganaches straight into cocoa powder or chocolate gratings, we're going to actually temper some chocolate and you're going to dip them in chocolate, which gives a little hard crunch to them, and then you get the soft ganache
Oh, I
coming
see. So
through.
this is the soft centre.
So this is the soft centre. The marble is important to temper on. It keeps the chocolate at a good temperature. And then you need the thermometer, palette knife and spatula.
Right.
And most importantly, we need the chocolate.
Okay.
So if you just bring that over, avoid getting water near the slab, because moisture and water with chocolate don't work. It completely throws the tempering off. And then if you can pour 3/4 of the chocolate onto the marble slab. So just pour it on, be brave. More, 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 more. Okay, that's enough. What you want to do is move the chocolate round because you want to cool it. And then with the thermometer, which I'm just going to turn on, you just want to check the temperature.
What temperature are we looking for now?
So with this dark chocolate, we're looking at 32, 33 degrees. So what you need to do is just spatula it back into this bowl where there's a little bit of the hot chocolate left. Yeah, it goes back in here. So,
like this?
Yeah, I usually just move the slab and go. That's brilliant. So now you just need to mix that round with the spatula.
Okay, so let's see how we're doing.
32 or 33 is what we're after.
Yep.
What we've got here is cocoa powder and chocolate shavings, Brazilian chocolate shavings. And I'm just going to show you how you dip the truffles and then you must have a go. So pick your truffle up on the fork, into the bowl, and you just quickly toss it in there, and then you drizzle off the excess, and then you just pop it on there, and you keep on doing this. I'm just going to do this one, then you can get cracking with them until you start seeing that dry, and then you roll them. So you basically get your fork and you just roll it down the tray until it's covered, and then you leave it.
How long will these keep for?
Well, because all the ingredients are fresh, the flavours are most vibrant in a week, but they will last for 2 weeks. Keep them in the fridge and then eat them at room temperature when the tastes really develop.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure these would last a week in anyone's house. I'm coming to the end of my chocolatey journey, a wonderful voyage discovering the secrets of what makes great chocolate. But before I end, there's one more final thing that I need to learn, and that is the secret of a perfect hot chocolate. And that's why I've come here in West London to Melt, a fantastic chocolate shop. The founder is Louise Nason, and Louise claims to have rediscovered an ancient way of making the perfect hot chocolate, and it will probably surprise you. What is all this about?
These are hot chocolate blocks that we've designed here at Melt, and we've used 4 different single origin chocolates so that you can taste your chocolate or choose the sort of flavour profile that you most think would be the most satisfying.
So tell me, Louise, what's actually in these bars?
Just chocolate.
Right.
Just a block of chocolate. So you've got the cocoa solids, you've got sugar, and probably soy lecithin and perhaps a little bit of vanilla as well. You put your hot chocolate in the cup, pour in your milk, quite hot milk, and it has to be about 6 fluid ounces, no more. So the last thing you want is a really milky, weak sort of hot chocolate.
And you stir it?
Stir it. It takes time, but you just have to be, that's the whole point of it, you have to be patient.
I mean, I suppose it is hot chocolate at its most simple.
Yes.
It must make it almost impossible for you to actually go somewhere and order a hot chocolate.
It is. I mean, I'm extremely fussy, and it enrages me to be given a cup with hot milk and a packet that I have to tear open. I mean, it's just appalling. And to compare it to the 18th century, where they actually had specific hot chocolate houses to go and enjoy hot chocolate and discuss politics, and it was serious and it was important and it was sophisticated. And then what happened?
So have you won any awards for your hot chocolate?
What we have awards for is our fresh chocolates, because we've entered those into competitions in the past. The Academy of Chocolate have awarded us golds, silvers and bronzes. But there's the Great Taste competition coming up in a couple of months, so we'll enter these hot chocolate blocks and see how they get on.
Well, I would imagine you would scoop the board with this innovation. Well, I think I have finally discovered the best hot chocolate in the world, and it is very simple. It's just chocolate melted into milk, and that's taking us right back to the early days of hot chocolate. And all you have to do, really, like with so many things in the world of food and wine, Spend a little bit more money and you get a supremely great experience.